Not quite sure if you're financially or even emotionally ready to retire yet? Well, stay tuned to this week's show, the 5 ways to feel confident about your retirement, no matter what happens in the financial markets.
Welcome to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. And we are talking about the 5 ways that you can feel more confident in your retirement, even with everything going on in the markets. And Dave, I know you're a fairly confident guy. You did bodybuilding from a young age, which probably helped you grow your confidence. Do you ever have issues with confidence?
Well, yes, I try to, I focus on the areas where I know my strengths are, and I know where my weaknesses are. And sure, in those areas, it would lack confidence, but you delegate that out. You let somebody else do that. I don't need to be good at everything. No one needs to be good at everything.
Yep. Well, when it comes to people that are coming to you and coming to our income specialist at Retirement Income Source about their retirement planning, do you think that they are feeling confident right now?
Well, that's a split answer, and that's a place where, if you're not confident in that area, then you should delegate that. Which is why, people like, like we have jobs, right? But the reality,
it's good to have a job, right?
That's right.
Especially in this economy.
So here's the reality. The people are not feeling confident in their ability to retire. They're not feeling confident that they have enough, that they're not going to outlive their income, that they're doing all the right tax strategies. So there's not a lot of confidence there. I'd say a lot of people are lacking. But where people seem overly confident these days, it's about the stock market.
And why is that, Dave?
Well, it's in large part because we haven't had a major dip in a long time. We did at the beginning of the pandemic, and then the markets came right back. So the last really prolonged dip we had was in 2008 when it bottomed out there, 2009. And so people tend to be more myopic in their memory, right? And that's 17 years ago. So all the dips since then have quickly recovered, so people are forgetting. It's like in your car, you look in the rearview mirror, but it's that convex round mirror, not the regular one that says
a fisheye view almost.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Objects may be closer than they appear. Well, that'd be the message I'd like to give to everybody here today is that, 17 years was a while ago, but it wasn't that long ago. Don't forget about it.
Yep. And that's why one of the first ways that you can help build more confidence and feel more confident in your retirement strategy is to make sure that you are creating reliable income. I mean, it's in the name of our show, Retirement Income Source. So we talk about income a lot on this show, but still, I think some people are confused or they've been fed misinformation about how they can generate income from their investments.
Well, that's the most important thing, to give people peace of mind, right? Because you go to work and you may be very confident in your career and what you can do, or even if you get laid off, your ability to find another role in another company, right? Mm-hmm. So all that confidence is good, and you get your paycheck and you save some money, you spend the rest, life is good. But when you get to retirement, you have to create your own paychecks. And that has to be in large part from your investments, unless you're fortunate enough to be one of those that has a old-fashioned type pension, those old defined benefit pensions that pay you a monthly income you can never outlive, right? Because Social Security, well, you wouldn't be listening to our show if you thought you could retire off Social Security alone. So you have to create your own paycheck, and that paycheck is what gives you peace of mind that, no matter what happens, you're still going to be able to pay your bills, you're still going to be okay.
And if you're looking for more information about income in the world of fixed income, we have a guide that we put together just for you, just for our listeners of the Retirement Income Source radio show. It is all about the fixed income investment environment and the universe. So you can really take a look at all the options available to you, and you can go and download that on our website, incomeradio.com. You're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and we're talking about the 5 ways to feel confident in your current retirement strategy, even with everything going on. So far we've talked about number 1, which is creating a reliable income stream. And Dave, this is the most important one, because you made a joke earlier about Social Security, and I don't think anyone out there thinks Social Security will be their entire income stream in retirement. But when you're looking at income, there's a couple different pieces of it, right? If you don't have a pension, maybe you have a 401k or a 403b. You do have the Social Security payment. But what are the other ways people can generate income in retirement?
Well, I mean, some people today, it's becoming more popular. They work part-time in retirement, maybe not doing what they did, but finding something they love, a hobby. I know people that will do some work part-time at a golf course just so they can play golf at the course for free, right? And now they're making a little bit of money, but also they're saving some expenses with their hobby. So that's one thing that works. The other thing is rental properties. If you have another place, you can rent it. You can, whether you're doing, whether you're trying to do the snowbird thing north to south, and maybe you do an Airbnb when you're not in that particular house, that's fine. You don't want to necessarily go out and complicate your life by buying rental property if you've never been a landlord, right? You don't want to do that on the brink of retirement or in retirement unless it's something you love. But even renting out a house when you're not there is a great way to go. Or I've seen people rent out a garage or do stuff like that to get extra income. But for most people, Social Security, again, the pension, if you're fortunate enough to have one of those old traditional pensions, and then your 401ks, IRAs, and your investments. So because of that, it's important to create your own paycheck. And later in the show, I want to talk even more about the right and wrong ways to create your own paycheck from your 401ks and IRAs.
Yep. Well, it opens up another question, which is about taxes. And of course, that is the second way out of the 5 ways that you can feel more confident about your retirement. And that's managing your taxes wisely, because everyone has a tax bill, but it's about making it effective and making sure that you're not overpaying or underpaying potentially.
Yeah, and the struggle, right, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep after tax, right? It's for all of us, that's the truth. But the reality is, in retirement, you typically have fewer deductions because, some of your exemptions are gone, children, your house might be paid off or your mortgage paid down where you can't really itemize to deduct the interest. So a lot of retirees are just taking the standard deduction. Now, under the first Trump administration, the standard deduction got a lot bigger. And with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right, it stayed large. So that's good. But the reality is some of those deductions go away. To make it worse, for most of the people that we see, a lot of your retirement dollars is in pre-tax instruments. It's in 401ks and IRAs, and that's all great because you saved money by putting money into those things during your working career. But the problem is eventually the IRS wants their money. So every dime that you take out of a 401k or a 403b or traditional IRA is 100% taxable. So it creates a tax time bomb. So, Sarah, some of the things that we always tell people to do is if you're not retired yet, start to diversify from a tax perspective. Start to put money, if you haven't already, into Roth IRAs. If you're with a company that offers Roth 401ks, now you can put even more money in. Okay, so start to tax diversify. If you're already retired, then maybe the only option might be considering a Roth conversion, right? Postpone Social Security so that doesn't add to your taxable income, and you can do Roth conversions in pieces your early years of retirement. So you're right. It's all about not what you make, but what you keep.
Yep. And it's also about making sure that you're avoiding emotional mistakes. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the psychology behind retirement. You want to make sure you have enough to retire, that you're going to generate enough income, but it's also about making sure that you're fulfilled during retirement, that you feel good about how you're spending your days when you're no longer working.
Of course it is. So we're going to cover all that coming up right here. I'm David Scranton with Sarah Samuels, and you are listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income.
Welcome back to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and we're going over the 5 ways that you can feel more confident in your retirement strategy. So we've talked about number 1, creating reliable streams of income. Number 2, managing your taxes effectively. And number 3 is really important, Dave. And this is the part where you avoid emotional mistakes. You avoid really thinking emotionally instead of looking at the big picture.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, people always say the biggest benefit of a 401k is saving taxes when you're working. But I think the biggest benefit of a 401k is forcing you to save the money because it comes out before you get your paycheck. It's like, you go to the gym, you see, how many people do you see with personal trainers there at the gym these days? Good number, huh?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of personal trainers out there.
Do you think all those people don't have a clue how to work out?
No, I think they need an accountability partner to make sure they actually show up and do the workout.
They do. I mean, especially if you're working out in the morning, it's like you got to get yourself out of bed.
Dude,
and if
5 a.m. comes very early, especially if you got to get up and go to the gym.
That's right. And it stops that emotional decision of just pushing the snooze button a couple more times and deciding not to go. And the same is true with your money. In fact, I believe that everyone should have some type of financial advisor. I don't care if you're an investment genius and you can do a great job. The number one purpose of a financial advisor is, to advise you, but it's really to keep you from making emotional decisions. See, we're all emotionally attached to our money, and the advisor isn't. Even we, Sarah, I don't know if you know this or not, but as financial advisors, we oftentimes have another person. I have several of our advisors where they bounce things off me, and I act as their advisor. Now, these are qualified advisors, know how to manage their accounts, but because I'm not emotionally attached to their money, they use me as just a sounding board.
Yeah, you're a good third party because you're not emotionally involved.
That's right. It's just like, in my book, Return on Principle, I tell the story about my mom having a big birthday. I think it was 70, and she wanted to go to casino and learn how to play blackjack, which I know how to play. And we went there, and I said, how much money do you want to win? Well, what do you mean? That's a stupid question. As much as I can. I said, no, Mom, seriously, how much would you be happy with? So she said, well, $500. Great. So we get on the table, and I'm behind her, and I'm coaching her. The dealer loves this, by the way, the situation. And lo and behold, we're up $515. I said, stop, push the chips forward, cash us out. Figuring I can give the dealer a $15 tip. She's got her $500, and we are good to go. And she looked at me and said, what are you doing? I'm winning. What are you doing?
I'm up.
Right. Because, before she said, if I'm up $500, I'm good leaving, right? But when you're in the heat of the moment, no, I'm winning. I don't want to leave. And that's how I think a lot of people are now, which is why they have too much confidence in the market, because I'm winning. The markets are going up. And the market's a great place. But the point is, if you're within 10 years of retirement, you shouldn't have all your money sitting in the stock market. So again, I think when it comes to emotional decisions, the number one thing is to have somebody there. And that's, again, the financial advisor's biggest benefit. Just like that personal trainer, it's accountability. So even if you're really good at picking investments, even if you have somebody that you talk to every 3 months, and maybe you pay them $500 for an hour and they consult with you, that is well worth the money spent.
And if you have questions about retirement, or if you're looking for maybe more stories about Dave's mom, I encourage you to call in to our Ask Dave radio hotline. That phone number is 833-RIS-RADIO. That's 833-747-7234. You can talk to our team, and if you are qualified, we'll make sure that you get a free copy of Dave's book, Retirement Income Source, the ultimate guide to eternal income. And you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and we've been going over the 5 ways that you can feel more confident in your retirement. So the first way is creating reliable streams of income. The second way is to manage your taxes efficiently. The third way is to avoid emotional mistakes. And now I want to talk a little bit, Dave, about preparing for health and longevity, the fourth way that you could feel more confident.
And that's simple, right? Because we talk about this all the time on the show. And the reality is that as people are living longer, you increase your chances of running out of money, but also increases the chances that you're sick at some point and you need some sort of long-term care, be it convalescent care or full-time home health care, part-time home health care, and that costs money. So yes, you could buy insurance to protect yourself there, but the problem with that strategy is you still have to make sure you have enough income to last you your whole life. So insurance could be good, but I don't think it solves both of those issues. The best way to do it is to make sure that you're living retirement off your interest and your dividends, and you're not touching a dime of principal. Now, you might say, well, gee, my kids are making a lot of money, making more than I ever made, or maybe you don't have children. Well, who am I going to leave it to? Well, it's not about that. It's about if your principal stays intact and you're living off that renewable source of interest and dividends, and if you get older and inflation starts to squeeze you, then you can say, you know what? I can start taking principal now because I'm in my 80s and I probably won't outlive it. Or if you take sick and need, let's say, full-time home health care, right? Because nobody wants to move into a convalescent home. I've never seen that on anybody's wish list, Sarah, planning for retirement. That in that case, you have the principal intact. So even if the long-term care insurance policy you purchase doesn't give you enough coverage, you can supplement it by spending down some of that principal. So again, the only way to protect against really the health care and longevity is to make sure that you live off the renewable resource of interest and dividends. Don't ever touch the principal until you're at least in your 80s.
And that highlights the deficiencies of going with a withdrawal strategy in retirement as opposed to an income generation strategy. And
which most advisors
use.
And again, they use it because they want to keep you more growth oriented, so the asset base can grow, so they can charge more fees, so the firm can make more money. That's their goal. But it's a slippery slope.
Yep. And the big problem, too, is that when you are using the withdrawal strategy and just hoping that growth makes up for it and you're able to earn the money back that you took out, it leads to feeling a lot of stress, especially when those markets go up and down. And that's really not a way to be confident in retirement. So our fifth way that our listeners can feel confident about their retirement strategy is to design a lifestyle that creates peace of mind, which is not a withdrawal strategy.
That's right. And there's two ways to look at that, right? For some, it might just be, okay, how do I live within my means? If I can take whatever amount of money I have and earn 4 or 5% interest or dividends, right? You could do the math and say that's how much income I can get today. Supplement Social Security on top of that. And then, all right, this is what I can afford. Is that enough? Will that make me happy in retirement? Or do I need to postpone retirement? Or do I need to maybe work part-time in retirement? There's different options. But there's another side to this too. The people that save a lot of money. I see people all the time, they've saved a lot of money. Gee, my wife and I have earned $300,000 a year during our life. But Dave, we're going to retire on $75,000 of income. I'm looking at them and saying, well, are you saving $225,000 now? And the answer is always no, right? Well, then why do you want to live off $75,000? Because they feel like they need to live off of Social Security or pension or any fixed benefit because they feel like it's irresponsible to take money out of those accounts. They worked their entire lives to put money in. Now it's irresponsible to withdraw money. So when we show people then if they invest for interest and dividends, they can earn way more than that $75,000 because they've done a good job preparing. Now it liberates them to really design the retirement they want. It liberates them to dream and think about all the things in life they want to have, they want to do, and they want to become that maybe they felt guilty about when they thought they were withdrawing principal from these accounts. But now that they know they're living off the renewable resource of interest and dividends and preserving the principal, all of a sudden it gives them a permission slip. A permission slip to live a better retirement that's really fulfilling.
Yep. And having that freedom absolutely gives you that peace of mind in retirement, which is really what it's all about. So, and if you have questions, if you would like to get your question on our Ask Dave segment, please call in now. The phone number is 833-RIS-RADIO. That's 833-747-7234. We'll be answering your retirement questions next. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. Welcome back to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. And if you are feeling less confident in your retirement strategy, today's show has been about the 5 ways that you can increase your confidence in your portfolio, even with all this market volatility. So the first way is by creating reliable income. The second way is by managing your taxes effectively. The third way is avoiding emotional mistakes. The fourth way is preparing for your health and longevity for 30 plus years of retirement. And the fifth way is, of course, designing a lifestyle that supports peace of mind.
Yeah, and it's funny, Sarah, I think the most important things are making sure you have the income right, and that's coming from that renewable source of interest and dividends. Having somebody to check you so you're not making emotional decisions that are with your money. At least not with your money. Other parts of your life, fine, but not with your money, right? Yeah. And then also that you have a retirement that excites you. People who are happy and fulfilled in retirement are people who have a good vision for what retirement's going to look like and what they want to do in retirement. They're moving toward a pleasurable goal. Those that are just moving away from a bad job or a bad boss or something, any bad situation, they're not as fulfilled in retirement. So I think those are the 3 primers. So if 5's too much, those are the 3 to focus on, in my opinion.
Well, our first question in our Ask Dave segment actually has to do with number 3, the emotional mistake. So Dorothy from Avondale, Connecticut reached out to us on the website, incomeradio.com, and she sent us this question. She says, my husband is an engineer. I'm really looking forward to him retiring in a few years from now. He's managing our money, and as we get closer to retirement, I'm worried he's going to make mistakes that will cost us in the long run. Do you have any advice on how I can help him?
Okay, this is Dorothy, right?
Dorothy.
All right,
yes.
Dorothy. Well, your husband is an engineer, so I assume he takes pride in being rational. But it's interesting. We have a psychological profile that we give to all employees here that evaluates them on certain levels. And one thing is, do you make decisions logically or emotionally? So if you have a 10 logic, it means you're mostly logic. So I happen to have a 10 logic. But as it turns out, I still catch myself sometimes making emotional decisions. Even if I'm, buying a car, it's like, what's the reasonable, practical car versus which is the one that I really want? Even being a pilot, it's my airplane is pretty inexpensive as far as airplanes go in order to run. But, if I'm making a logical decision all the time, well, it's always cheaper to fly commercial, right? But sometimes I fly myself because I want that flexibility emotionally. It's important to me. So I think the most important thing, if he manages the money, is for you to stay in the loop. Stay in the loop and understand. And, hopefully have the relationship with him that you can simply say, look, I just want to know what's going on and I want to be here for you. And beside, I need to know because God forbid if something happens to you, I need to know what's happening. I can't have just one person managing it. That's one of my goals when I sit with people all the time and one spouse is managing the money, the other one isn't. Because if you know what's happening in the rationale, then, you can keep him from making emotional decisions. If there's something that you see, the market's going up, or in this case, the technology, and he's going heavier and heavier into technology, you could be that voice of reason to say, well, wait a minute. And I know it's your money as much as it is his, so you're emotionally attached to it. But again, because this is your concern, you might just be able to be that voice of reason or to rationalize. Or the other choice is to get a financial advisor to work with. And again, some financial advisors, we don't happen to do it, but some financial advisors will even do, hey, here's an hourly consult, here's our fee. And you go to them and get feedback. And that might be helpful too. It might be a good investment, a good checks and balances system, because again, you're in that final descent coming in, ready to land in retirement, and you want to make sure that your gear's down, not up when you land. So Dorothy, I hope that helps.
And Dorothy, thank you for sending us your question through our website, incomeradio.com. If you have a question about your retirement, please go ahead and send it to us either on the website, incomeradio.com, or you can call our Ask Dave hotline. That's 833-RIS-RADIO, 833-747-7234. And in the case of Dorothy, Dave, I think a lot of women end up falling into this. And I know I talked to some of our female advisors who tell me they have workshops and seminars purely for women that maybe have been recently widowed or find themselves taking over the finances, and they feel a little bit overwhelmed because their husband maybe was managing it the whole time. So there's a lot of people out there that are looking for help, that are looking for an income specialist.
Yeah, and it's more balanced these days. I would say back, earlier in my career working with the greatest generation, preparing them for retirement, that was more, the man's job is to manage this, and oftentimes she would not really know. The baby boomers are a little different. They're a little more balanced. There are a lot of women that manage it, and the guy just sits there and looks at me and says, I don't want to even get involved in this,
Yeah.
He just comes to the meeting because she makes him, right?
Right. She's the one in charge.
And the Xers are the same way. So, But bottom line, no matter which it is, the husband or wife, both spouses need to have a hand, at least know what's going on.
Yep. Our next question comes from another wife, actually. We have Ellen out in Glastonbury, Connecticut. She says, Dave, I'm someone that you mentioned who plans to retire on a lot less income than what I'm making during my working years. But my husband and I have done a really good job saving. So how can I convince him that it's going to be okay to spend in retirement, to not live off such a small amount of income?
That's a great question.
I think she wants the permission slip, or she wants to explain the permission slip of income to her husband.
Yeah, and it's, he's afraid, and you have to understand that sometimes, men, we take this man of the family thing on, and we're responsible for our family, and if something goes wrong, it's on me. So it's easy to get a little ultra-conservative and ultra-cautious. But, I think the story is the residual income. I always have an analogy that I say, if you had to heat your house in Glastonbury, Connecticut for the rest of your life just based upon the trees, the wood and the trees that are on your property, burning those, think about how stressful it would be, right? You'd have to figure out how many yards of wood you have and divide it by your life expectancy, and then maybe you assume that some of the trees might die or get knocked down in a hurricane. So you say, well, we can't even burn that much every year, and you'd figure out how much you could burn on a regular basis to heat your home. And it might cause you to only heat it to 55 or 60 degrees, right? Because you don't know how long you're to live or how long the wood's going to last, so you're worried about it. But imagine instead you lived off that renewable resource of, let's say, solar or even wind. And you knew that every day you can kick it up to 80 degrees, you can heat the house as much as you want and not worry about it because tomorrow there's going to be more solar power, there's going to be more wind power, right? That's like getting a permission slip to heat your house because it's not a finite resource, it's an infinite resource. It's a renewable resource. So with that in mind, it's the same thing is true with your money. If you're thinking about your money as, gosh, I've got $3 million, we take $100,000 a year, that'll last me 30 years, you're thinking about taking it out of principle. When you start to realize that you can make that transition as you get to retirement, get close to retirement, to an income first, growth second approach, where you're primarily looking for interest and dividends, that renewable resource. Now you can spend all of it with a clear conscience because you never ever have to worry about running out of money. Why? Because you're never touching principal. And by definition, if you don't touch principal, it's really hard to run out of money. So to me, that's the best thing. And your husband might be more growth oriented in his mind, more stock oriented. So he might be thinking, not thinking interest and dividends. If you can convince him to go to an income first, growth second approach, whatever amount of money you have, you multiply that by about 4% a year, maybe 5%. And that's the amount of income you can generate. And that's what you could take with 100% clear conscience. I hope that helps.
Ellen, thank you so much for your question for the show. And if you have a question, maybe feature on a future show, all you have to do is call into our hotline. That phone number is 833-RIS-RADIO. Again, that's 833-747-7234. And we appreciate you listening to this episode of Retirement Income Source, covering the 5 ways that you can feel more confident in your retirement.
And most important, we hope that you're back here with us next week. Same time, same station. I'm David Scranton here with Sarah Samuels, and you've been listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it is all about your income.